and welcome to the morning zoo.
Good morning.
Thanks for being a part of the conversation. It's always fun to catch up and make sure that we find out what's happening at City Council for the nighttime, which ultimately affects the city in general. And if we can be an outlet of that, something that brings those that maybe not are not able to get to the City Council meetings or might be interested in finding out what happens in the city. But I've also heard, which is kind of neat to share this with the audience, is that, with Ludington being a tourist area as well, that we have a lot of listeners and viewers outside of the area that love that connection that, hey, I used to live there, or I visit, a couple of times a year, or we're planning on coming up for the first time this summer. So we hear some of that too. So for those that have not visited Ludington or are outside of that particular city area, we welcome them to listen and to watch as well. So it's kind of neat to be able to have that digital interaction. I guess it would be. Let
Absolutely. And it's reflective in the fact that our school here is out of formula. Our school is out of formula because we have so many homeowners that don't live here year round, right? That's
Yeah.
why they're out of formula. So it's important that we have these outlets to share with the folks who own a home here, don't live here year round, but are still a taxpayer and
Mhm.
still recreate here and participate in our community in a different way than a traditional way.
Yeah, and very good information there, and it is. I mean, every city makeup has its own characteristics or ways that it attracts people, interacts with locals versus those that come in. And I think that's if you didn't have that, if Ludington was any different, I don't know if it would be recognizable, right? I mean, I say that in a very positive way that with the Badger and with what we're going to talk about a little bit more of that the cruise line potential here and other ways that people come in for fireworks, which by the way. I had a really good conversation. The JCI team reached out to us about 2 weeks ago now, and said, "Hey, would you be willing to broadcast the parade again?" We didn't do that last year. We did it the few years prior to that, but they sent us a message and said, "Hey, can we connect?" And we had a really good conference call with them, and they said, "We'd love to be able to have you broadcast the parade again." So we'll be right there in front of the library with our broadcast equipment to do that, and then obviously down at Stearns Park, like we've done for I think 4 or 5 years now, for the music for a centralized area. And they were pretty excited about that, especially with it being 250th birthday of the United States. And I think they're planning on putting certainly their best foot forward. And I think that's exciting, isn't it?
It really is, and I know through some of the conversations that we've had at City Hall that there's multiple participants in the community that are looking to engage in that celebration, and I think it's going to be a very special celebration this year.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And the craziest part of that conversation too with them was that their parade entries starting to come in already, and I think it's going to be a huge parade this year, and I think that's neat because I mean there's thousands and thousands of people that line Ludington Avenue for this event, so I'm excited about that. And the Petunia Parade, that is, we're very close to starting that planting. Have you ever planted some petunias as part of the Petunia Parade since you've been there, or maybe this is the year to get down and dig into that dirt and try to get those flowers in there? Will you do a little bit of that this year? Do you think?
I have not in Ludington yet, no.
Okay, all right.
Um,
We
but
might have
but
to recruit you.
yes, yes. I was supposed to last year,
Mhm.
but my I don't remember if we were out of town or what was going on. But yes, I'm sure they will recruit me.
Yeah, well, and you're welcome to help with our block. The radio station for the third year in a row has the north side of Ludington Avenue there, west of Washington Avenue. So if you think of Washington Avenue,
Yep.
that northwest corner, we've planned it the last 3 years, and it's so neat to be able to come around the curve and see the section that you work on, and then everybody else's as they piece together. So Petunia Parade, the committee there does fantastic, and I know they're raising funds for a new water truck, which we're going to be sharing here shortly in some segments with them. But overall, spring is here. We've seen a lot of rain. We've seen a lot of grass greening up out there and the flowers, and
Yes.
that kind of is that momentum into spring and summer. So you must be excited from a city manager standpoint to get the peak season started in the area.
I am, and if you've been down to Stearns Beach lately, they're making some progress there, and some snow fence is slowly going away. It all won't be removed yet. The wind is still pretty aggressive, but they're making some good progress there. And yeah, we're pretty excited for the weather to shift and to start seeing seeing Mother Nature come to life in a more colorful way than what we've seen the last 6 months for sure.
Well, and the winter has definitely been crazy, and now that it's behind us, we hope, unless you're in the UP, for those that didn't see that there got some major snowfall there recently, but we are into good temps, and so that's signaling good opportunities to come visit Ludington if you were listening from outside of the area. What is that? And I know we've got some items on the agenda, but just one moment before we get to that is from your standpoint and inviting those that are outside of the area, what's your message to them? There's a lot of competition out there, right? From Traverse City, and to you came from the Kingsley area, if I remember right. And if people want to visit Mackinac City or the UP and stuff, how does Ludington, the messaging, kind of compete with those other areas? If you don't mind sharing that.
Oh my gosh, I think the messaging is pretty simple. Um, from someone who spent almost a decade in Traverse City, and then before that, I spent 4.5 years in Ann Arbor. Ludington has a little bit of everything to offer. We have incredible shoreline. We have wonderful summertime amenities to offer to families. And we just don't have that incredible traffic
Mm.
issue that the Traverse City, the Mackinac Island, the Sheboygan type communities have with parking, and those types of issues. We just don't yet,
Yeah.
right? We're still in a position that we can control the growth that we want to see and maintain that small community feel that we want to see in the next 10, 20, 30 years. That's what we have to offer. We're going to continue to see growth because we have the room to grow. We've got incredible trail and bike projects in the works that we'll see come to life. I think there's a city council presentation coming next month from the Mason County Multi-Use Trails Committee for a trail project from Ludington State Park down to South Pierre Marquette Highway. That's a 4-phase trail plan, and the community is welcome to attend and learn more about that trail project. The trail also goes from downtown Ludington out to Scottville.
Okay.
Anyway, there's 4 phases of that trail plan, but we have a lot to offer.
Mhm.
And right now, we have the amenities and not that crazy burden of the overflow of traffic and people. Do we have the influx? Yes, not like other places. So it's a really great place to be, regardless of what age group you're in.
And that final message right there, very important, because you do see a lot of ages, families and individuals and young couples and the older demographic that will come visit Ludington. And I think, to be able to
Mhm.
reach that whole spectrum, I think is crucially important, and beneficial, for sure, for businesses to operate, to we've got local agencies or event promoters and all of that good stuff, including the Love Ludington weekend. That's hopefully shaping up pretty well, and you're looking forward to that, and that'll be there in just around the corner. You had mentioned some of the activities. I think one of them was, well, we have the disc golf that's on the agenda for the night tonight, and also. If I remember right, there is a bike related topic on the agenda for the night tonight too. Do you mind talking a little bit about those activities?
Yes, so there is a bicycle and coaster toys ordinance that's going before City Council tonight. It's a first presentation. It is imperfect. I will say that. Coaster toys is a very foreign
Yeah.
term to most, including myself. That includes all sorts of different youth and adult toys that you see out on the sidewalk and the roadways in today's times.
Yeah.
Scooters, those little non-motorized, I don't even know what a lot of these things are called, one-wheeled
Yeah.
uh,
Well. Yeah. Yeah.
toys, all sorts of things, right? But it creates rules of the roadways and the sidewalks for all of these different means of transportation that kids and adults are using nowadays. What I mean by it's imperfect is the city created a task force. And for the last several months, this task force has met and come and brought forth this a best version of an ordinance that they could come up with, along with our chief of police, the mayor. And this task force was made up of folks who ride their bikes to work every single day, parents of children who live in the community, just volunteers, business owners downtown who rent out bikes, just a variety of folks who volunteered their time over the last 6 months to come up with this ordinance. It was then reviewed by our attorneys, and now it's going before city council. When the committee reviewed it a couple weeks ago, we were like, well, what about this and what about that? And those suggestions, the committee also got stuck on for months. And but they really put a significant amount of time into this ordinance and thought about all of those things, and we'll talk about them tonight at City Council as a first presentation. And really what we're hoping will happen is that City Council will adopt this ordinance, and we'll use this summer to test it out,
Okay.
knowing that there will likely be changes coming to this, but we need to see what happens, right? Put it into action, and let's see what improvements need to be made. And we'll make those improvements when the time comes. But we really do think that this is the best, after that task force worked on it. This is the best version that we have for right now. There's not a whole lot like it. Around the state, around the country. We were hoping that the state legislature would pass some sort of laws about e-bikes or take up some sort of initiative this summer or next summer, but the state legislature has indicated that they are not going to be working on any laws in the near future that give local municipalities some guidance on how to handle e-bikes. So really, if local communities want to do anything, they've got to come up with their own ordinances. So anyway, this task force and our and our local businesses and community members put their brains together, and what's going before city council is a result of those discussions.
Do you mind highlighting maybe 2 or 3 points that, because we know that bicycles in general are not allowed on the sidewalks in a certain kind of from this street to this street in the downtown area, or obviously because pedestrians. There's a lot of pedestrians in the summer that are walking on the sidewalks. That probably doesn't change, but I would assume for a lot of these other toys, as they would be called, those are not going to be allowed in just like the bicycles, or is it different?
Um, it's it's very different. As for highlighting it, I can do my best. Let me pull up the ordinance here. There's a lot of exceptions, so highlighting it is kind of tricky.
Okay.
Because you have to read through the whole thing.
Okay.
Um, let's see. Let Bicycles may be operated in public parks and on sidewalks, but in single file only.
Okay.
Um, no bicycle shall be operated upon the sidewalk or pathways in the following portions of the city: Ludington Avenue right of way from Harrison Street to William Street, James Street right of way from Court Street on the north to Dowland Street on the south, Stearns Outer Drive west sidewalk,
Okay. Yeah.
Waterfront Park pathways, Legacy Plaza, the Waterfront Loop sidewalk between the dead end of Ferry Street to the west along the water to the Loomis Street boat launch parking lot, the Rotary Park pathways between Ludington Avenue and Court Street, and Gaylord Avenue and Lewis Street.
Okay. Well, and it makes sense, a lot of those, because there's high trafficked areas in regards
Correct.
to motorists and people in general. Did Ludington need this? Was there some issues?
Yes. Yes, we've had I mean, I would rely on the police department. They're gonna, I mean, folks who are really interested can attend tonight. They can listen in. All of our meetings are live streamed. I'm sure that our police chief is gonna speak up about the history of what led us to get to this place, but um, where those blackout areas of where folks can't ride their bikes or their scooters, it's high pedestrian areas. There's a lot of children down there, especially in the summertime. um, and with these e-bikes, e-scooters, there's a large number of incidents. We receive a lot of complaints. There's safety issues, right? Last year we had a few serious incidents, safety incidents. And as they become more popular, we have a few businesses downtown that rent out these types of motorized scooters and bikes. They're just going to become more popular. And we've got to create some sort of rules of the road, rules of the sidewalk, so folks can utilize those means of transportation, but do so safely.
And that's important. And I think that will probably, you might have to revise that ordinance a year or two from now. You never know when something else is going to be a part of that. Although, if written correctly, you can cover a lot of those future things that you're not thinking about in the sense. So that's going to be good to know.
Yes,
Um,
but like we know, the state knows, and the federal government knows, you never get it right the first time. So, so if
let
you're one of these folks that use these e-bikes, e-scooters, or a regular bike, whatever it might be, and you're out there and you have a comment or a concern and you think something should be changed, please feel free to provide your feedback to the city.
Absolutely. We're talking with Kaitlyn Aldrich, City Manager of Ludington. I know we don't have a lot of time this morning. I know I had mentioned that I was gonna talk just a little bit, and then I thought about the tourist season is upon us or getting close to us. So I consumed a lot of our earlier part. But what else is on the agenda, real quick, that makes sense to bring up that the listeners might want to know about this morning?
I'm sorry, I just got a good kick because we said 10 minutes and we've
I
doubled
know.
that already.
That's all right.
That's okay.
Well,
So
and I don't
we're
want you to be late for meetings either, so I'm like, "Oh, but then I went on my, tourist, rampage.
No, tourism is so important to Ludington, Mason County. It's absolutely critical. So we could talk about that all day. So we are looking at adopting a resolution to establish that PACE energy program. If you want some more information on PACE, please look at the packet. Please go back to the segment that Chris and I had the 3 weeks ago. PACE is a property assessed clean energy program. In short, it allows commercial businesses, multi-family housing projects to offset their clean energy efficiency projects with a special loan that allows them to get their financing upfront, and they can finance it over up to 25 years.
That's great.
The city just has to establish the district,
Mhm.
and then those businesses can apply through a program called Lean and Green Michigan, and they can go get their funding from Lean and Green Michigan and their lenders. Um, and finance some of their project that way. We don't actually loan out the money. We just allow commercial businesses to be eligible to go after that funding. That's all the city is considering at this point. I believe it's in the packet tonight, and it was 3 weeks ago. Like 65 or 70% of the state of Michigan already has established PACE districts.
Mm.
So Mason County or the city of Ludington is pretty late to the game on this.
Mhm.
It's nothing new. There's lots of data out there if folks are interested. We are also looking at tonight. We've talked about it before. Again, we've had several discussions about this, but we hired a company to do an inspection of our seawall at Waterfront Park. The inspection came back good.
Okay.
So we're hoping for 2 separate visits from American Cruise Lines this summer in August. And the Chamber of Commerce is coming tonight. Brandy Miller is coming to talk about the American Cruise Lines visits tonight. And so that would be really exciting, especially as you're talking about tourism. Um,
Yeah. No, I think that's great.
and I know cruise lines can be scary, especially in terms of quantity, how many people we're talking about. Both, it's the same ship both times, and I believe their passenger capacity for each visit is 130. So it's not an overwhelming amount of people.
Yeah, it won't be. Yeah, it won't be too difficult. And I think that that is a good test as well. Even if there was larger lines that were interested, you'd want to kind of test the waters a little bit. Don't mind the pun, but and so that's both in August. Uh, the We had some questions come in on our messaging, our Facebook messaging, uh, real quick about. Um, Let me go back to that message. Bike lanes are something that is, you've talked about in the past with us. That's a potential, and those conversations are happening. That there might be some potential bike lanes to accommodate. The concern is the ordinance, tonight's ordinance. And again, this is a great opportunity for people to show up and listen to that ordinance or read it. But the concern was, is the ordinance going to prevent people from using scooters that might be disabled, or if this ordinance is too strict, will that kind of push the bike lane opportunity more ahead of schedule than it maybe has now?
I guess I need to understand the question more about will it push it ahead of schedule?
Well, I'll ask it this way. Do you see Ludington uh, becoming a city that has, bike lanes as part of that traffic? It's very tough to put lanes in without expanding the shoulders and such. And we know how tough that is. So, what is that? What is that goal? Is there a goal at this point for bike lanes?
So, from my perspective and my perspective only, not from a committee discussion, council discussion, the
Yeah.
trickiest part about bike lanes is the cost,
Oh, okay.
the ongoing maintenance cost, because usually the most affordable way to put a bike lane on a roadway is to simply paint it.
Yeah.
But as we know, with regular road paintings, you have to repaint those lines
Okay. Yeah.
every other year or every couple years. And so now if you have street paintings for your roadway markings and then bike lane markings, you've doubled your road markings, which is doubling your maintenance costs. So is there this plan to put bike lane markings all over city streets? No.
No.
Going back to when I started here as the city manager in November of 24, there was this established Mason County Multi-Use Trails Committee, and they were just getting started. And I know that the initial thought is Rath Avenue. There's one other street in Ludington that is a national bike route. It's part of the national bike route. So Rath Avenue specifically is part of in US 10, I think, are part of the national bike route. Those two roads in particular, ideally would have a dedicated bike facility of some kind. So that presentation that's coming next month
Oh, yeah.
from the Mason County Multi-Use Trails Facility, they're proposing a shared path of some kind that goes from the state park. As it comes south, it cuts through Cartier Park.
Okay.
So it cuts through Cartier Park to then get um, off of the main road and onto Rath, which is the US bike route. Then once it's on Rath, it becomes a separated bike facility with paint
Okay.
in 2 foot tall vertical reflectors.
Okay.
And those 2 foot tall vertical reflectors get removed in the wintertime. Okay. And then that separated bike facility would come all the way down North Raft to Ludington Avenue. When it crosses Ludington Avenue, it continues down South Raft to Dowland. And then it, I believe, stays that separated bike facility down Dowland. And then once it goes down Washington, I believe it's no longer a separated bike facility and kind of becomes, I'd have to look at the map again. But I'm sorry, I don't, my brain isn't remembering.
No, I think, and we've
But
seen
so
those
we'll
in other
see it
cities
in
where,
May. We'll see it in May, but then I think once that trail heads out to Scottville, it's off of the road and it becomes like an 8 foot or a 10 foot sidewalk.
wow, okay.
That's what they're
Wait, from
proposing. So it's
from
a really
Ludington to
great
Scottville?
question. Yes, out to Scottville.
Wow.
But that it's all contingent on funding. And I mean, there's so many pieces that are unknown. But I do know that because Rath is part of that national bike route, and there's a business district there, um, and we have space, it makes sense for it to be like that shared use facility with the roadway. Do I envision those types of facilities all throughout the city limits? No.
No.
But could there be a bigger movement one day and city council
Well,
change over? I don't know.
Well, I think just, getting information out about, if you were to say to somebody, well, if you were to say to the locals, like what you're doing today, and if it does come to fruition, that there would be a connector from Ludington to Scottville that is, paved. That I think that's more of the value than the north south route. And again, just my opinion in the sense, but I think there's a lot of opportunity for people to, hey, let's go for a bike ride to Scottville, and vice versa. Let's go into Ludington and bike that. That's huge. And to say, hey, let's take the day and go for a ride. So that's pretty cool. Let's talk about that in the future when the presentation actually happens, and maybe we can have one of the organizers of it join us as well if you want to do that when we kind of get into that. I know we're way past time, so if there is one more thing you want to highlight, or if you want to just pick it up in a couple of weeks when we talk again, it's up to you. I'll let you decide on that.
Um, I just a reminder that if anyone is interested in running for second, fourth, or sixth ward
Yeah.
councilors, the mayor or city clerk petitions are due Tuesday, April 21st.
Okay. So this
The
coming
city
week.
clerk.
Yeah.
Yep. So Debbie Luskin is the city clerk, and if you have questions or interested at all, you can reach out to her. Otherwise, I don't think I have anything else at this time.
Well, and we did get a message from our Facebook page from one of the candidates. I think if I remember what she said, she's I handed in my form. So that I think that happened. I can't find her message now, but so you have at least one mayoral candidate, correct?
Yes, we've had, I believe, I don't want to misspeak, but we've had multiple petitions pulled for second, fourth, and sixth. Sixth might just be one.
Okay. Okay.
Multiple for mayor, none for clerk so far.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Um,
A-
so,
And
yep.
and that's yeah, and that's a bit of a change with the clerk, right? For the clerk's position, that's a little bit of that change as we talked about. So, let's dive into more of that. On the flip side, we got messages just a few moments ago about our conversation about the Ludington Scottville. I hope I didn't put too much emphasis on it, because obviously we want to see the presentation right and be able to have that, and then the funding and the time frame and stuff. But I think that'd be kind of neat. Well, we appreciate
It's
you. Go ahead.
It is good. It is excellent information. I will make sure that I send you what information is available so you can drop it in the chat
Oh, that'd be
on
great.
here. So folks who are interested in that can find what information is available. Um, it is huge. It's not only for recreational purposes, it's also to connect folks. I mean, there are so many employers
Mhm.
who are along US 10 between Ludington and Scottville.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
transportation is such an issue in any community, but
Mhm.
also Ludington. And I mean,
Yeah.
all of us see folks walking, biking in the street, in the grass, because
Yeah.
it is just not a walkable section there.
Hmm.
So having that infrastructure is huge. And that is this, so like I said, there's four sections of that trail. That's the section that I'm assigned to. There's
Hmm.
large groups of us, and that's Yeah, the other sections are great because they're more recreational and along the waterfront and stuff. That's the most important section to me because it just has such an impact,
Hmm.
economic impact, and it affects local lives so much, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll make sure that whatever information is available, I get that to you. And there will be a lot of information coming as we finalize some initial uh, development of those trails, and then public presentations start to happen. We'll make sure we get that information out and folks can start asking questions and getting excited.
Yeah, I think that there's probably going to be a lot of energy behind that. Well, we appreciate it. I know there's a lot more on the agenda tonight, but for those that are listening and watching, 6 p.m. at City Hall, that's an opportunity for you to, figure out what is in store for the Ludington area and be a part of the conversation as well. So make sure you do that. Get a chance to go to a city council meeting again tonight, 6 p.m. Kaitlyn,
Yes.
thank you so much. And I know our 10 minutes a little bit longer, but I like to talk as I mentioned prior to us going on. But it's always good to be able to share great information about what's happening in the Ludington area with the listeners and viewers. So I think it's kind of neat. So we appreciate you doing that always.
I agree, and I thank everyone for their time this morning. And it's always nice to talk about some positive things that are happening in our area. And thanks for having us, Chris.
Absolutely, anytime. It is Mom FM and Hot Country Hits 99.9.